Okay, well, guys, it's a big thrill. Oh my goodness, we have Joseph Millson here, which is so good because Joseph, it's a really big thrill to have you join us today. My
Such a
goodness,
pleasure.
my goodness. I mean, you've done so much. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the last couple of weeks we've had real actors on the club, which is
Way!
fantastic.
Whatever that means.
I
We're
know.
all exactly the same. Nobody knows what they're doing, let me tell you. But I am the busiest unknown actor in the world.
My goodness, you are. I tell you, I looked at your CV, and obviously, weirdly, I realised we came and saw you in Love Never Dies 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, we so enjoyed it, and of course, we saw it a couple of weeks ago when they were showing it on a Friday night. But
Yes.
but my goodness, you've been in Peak Practice, you've been in EastEnders, you've been in Holby, you've done
Yeah.
big movies like Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. You've
Yeah.
done, you've been with Morgan Freeman and Gerard Butler
Yeah.
in Angel Has Fallen, and then also you do like Shakespeare and the National Theatre, RSC. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, is there nothing you cannot do, Joseph?
No, what you mean is there nothing I won't do because I'm such a whore. I'll go anywhere they pay my rent with. And so I've managed to be. It's 28 years now I've been doing this for a living, and I am. It's a combination of absolute pig-headed refusal to give up, and a bit of luck, and luckily low expectations going in. I think that's really helped me. So I've never. There have been moments where other people, we have these agents and people, who take 10% of your money and don't always do too much. No, they do. They're marvellous. But there have been moments where they've got all excited and gone, this is it. I think you're about to become a big star.
Well,
And
I mean, hang on a
thought,
sec.
great. But it doesn't happen. And I just keep working occasionally. And that's marvellous. I say keep working. I've had massive periods out of work. And again, luckily, my expectations, the secret of life. What is that old saying? You sow an expectation, you reap a disappointment, I think. Now, us British are quite good at being optimistic pessimists, realistic. And it's helped, I think. Like last year, I had a great run of work and then 6 months where I could not land a job. I had perhaps 70 auditions. I was the
Wow.
bridesmaid on lots of them, but didn't quite get the job. And it got to the point in my life, I have 3 children I'm responsible for effectively, and 2 of my own and a stepson. And it gets to the point where I realised how lucky I've been. It had been 15 years since I'd had to have a different job. I'd managed to, well, it's not a problem. But to pay my way with 2 families, actually, as it were, I had to work as a carer for old people by day. And then I was working in a cocktail bar till 2 a.m. at night.
Oh my
And doing that
gosh.
6 days a week for about 5 months. And then out of that, I got the lead in a movie. But you just keep your head down and keep going. Or maybe head up and keep going. So it's funny, I have done an awful lot.
You have. Well, Joseph, I'll tell you something that you are at the moment in Mary Poppins, aren't you? You are playing George Banks in Mary Poppins in the West End with Petula Clark and
Yes.
and Charlie Stamp. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
when it comes back, when we get to do it, of course, we stopped work on March the 16th, like everyone else, and there is no guarantee we'll go back. We are all crossing our fingers, and we've got a kind of vague date of the end of September to maybe be allowed back. Yeah, but it's been wonderful. Mary Poppins. Musicals come my way occasionally. I never trained as a singer. I can hold a tune, but I'm sort of that actor who can sing that they'll get in occasionally. Mr. Banks, luckily, just goes. I don't have to do any big singing.
It's such a fab musical. I mean, to be fair, me and my wife, we've seen it 5 times. We're that sad.
Nothing sad about that.
I've directed a children's version of it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I watched the movie of it with my kids, without exaggeration, maybe 200 times. It is the most magical story.
But it must be a bit of a worry for you. I mean, seriously, as a professional actor, how are you coping with the lockdown? Because I read in the stage that the industry has lost like 615 million quid's worth of money. I think
I can't keep up with the big figures. All I know is the personal story is that it has effectively we aren't going to know the effect of all this for quite a while. And my dad, my dear departed dad, always said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
And with this problem, it's almost too big. If my wife and I were both actors, you'll meet her, everyone, next week or soon. If we started really thinking about it, I don't think our industry will be back on its feet for a year or more. And it is entirely likely and possible that Mary Poppins won't come back on, in which case I have no work. Now, I've been working at Aldi supermarket for the last month. The way I am, the minute that job finished, I have children to feed. I took my little CV around the town until I got a job. Now, they took me on as a temp. I worked there for 5 weeks, then they had to let all the temps go. So right now I'm unemployed again.
Oh, mate, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right. It's okay. But I'm building a sound studio in a cupboard at home in the hope that I can do voiceovers. I'll do whatever it takes. But really, how I'm dealing with it is definitely that thing of one day at a time. I was walking my children on a dog walk the other day, and my son is 16 any minute. He's 15. My daughter's 18. But my son was, he's a lovely lad, but he was, as all teenagers do, he had his head, and all adults sometimes, he had his head down like this as he was walking. It was a beautiful day. And I said to him, "Go on, lift your head up." And he said, "Why?" And I thought, oh God, I've got to give him an answer now. So what I said was, look, if you think there are lasers coming out of your eyes, the angle they're pointing down at tells me what's going on with you. And you are being led by and controlled by your thoughts. You're worrying about stuff. And it is like heavy and pulling your head down. I said, if you lift your eyes up so the lasers coming out of them are straight ahead, you don't get taken over by those nasty thoughts and you're in the day. And I said, it's up to me, up to you. You know, you do what you want, but just know that when your head goes down like that, you're letting the thoughts run your day. And if you keep it up, you're in the day and you can take it moment by moment. And do you know what he said? He went, yeah, well, at least I don't tread in any dog shit. which was the best comeback I've ever heard.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But listen, Joseph, it is really good to have you here. And I think the guys would love to know a few anecdotes because, I mean, you've worked with incredible people. I mean, you know, last year, I think it came out, Angel Has Fallen. I mean, Gerard Butler, Morgan Freeman, you know, you've worked with Daniel Craig in the Bond films. Have you got any really sneaky anecdotes that might make people laugh about what, you know, what it's really like in real life?
The James Bond one, I will try to do briefly. So Casino Royale was my first film, and it was Daniel Craig's first Bond film. It was a big deal. So in short, so many things went wrong. This sounds glamorous, but it all went wrong. I had a week filming in the Bahamas. I mean, can you believe it?
Wow.
I used to wear glasses, like you, eyes lasered now, a few years ago. But anyway, I was quite very short-sighted. On the plane, never flown in a posh plane before, on posh seats. I was so excited. I took my glasses off. This is on the way there to adjust something. A businessman knocked them off my seat, trod on them, shattered them.
No!
So I arrived blind for a first thing. And then on that first night, they said, do you want to go to the hotel or do you want to go to the birthday party? I went, what? What birthday party? They said, it's Daniel Craig's birthday. We're throwing a party. I didn't know the man, but there was no other English actors there that day. So when I pulled up, James Bond opened my car door, put a cigar in my mouth and said, yes, another actor. Gave me a big hug. I drank 4 buckets of punch. I was swimming naked in the sea with Daniel Craig within 2 hours. And the next day started filming. And if anyone's seen it, I have a tiny part, but I had to do a stunt. I had to push through a crowd of people, jump and fall on a crash mat. I was so nervous about getting it right. They said, we need you to do a backflip and land on your back. I went, right. I thought, I'm going to get this right. I'm going to get this. I was so amped up. I ran through the crowd, bit blind, went, oh, there's the edge of the thing, jumped, cleared the crash mat, jumped so far, I landed on my back on a camera.
No!
And of course, everyone just went, oh, is the camera all right? Is the camera all right? I'd heard a bit of a click in my shoulder. And they said, right, it's all right, we'll go again, go again. I kind of went up there, feels a bit weird. I can't really move my arm very well, but it's fine. I did it again. I did it perfectly, landed on the crash mat, but I heard click. I went, great, I just moved off. I was so nervous about getting sacked. I didn't tell anyone for an hour. And a stunt man came up to me and said, good job, mate. Yeah, well done. You're all right. You look a bit pale. said, yeah, I'm fine. I think I might hurt my shoulder a bit. Well, let's have a look. He pulled my shirt back and my collarbone was
No!
sticking up like that. And he went, oh, we've got to report this. I went, no. And I begged this man not to tell anyone. I knew things you know when you're in the business, stuntmen always have amazing painkillers. So I said, please, just give me a painkiller. He went, oh my God. I said, they'll sack me. I've got 4 more days left. They'll get someone else. They wouldn't have, but I was so paranoid. He gave me one of his mega painkillers, used gaffer tape to tape my shoulder down. And I got on with it. And I didn't know if my scene would be in the film. And the punchline is that when I eventually went to see the film at the cinema, having not told anyone I was in it, because I thought it might get cut, not only was I in it, there was a massive close-up of me for one line. And I can tell, but no one else can, I can see in my eyes, I'm off my face on codeine. In that close-up in Casino Royale, I know, I'm like, oh, I knew when they did that close-up, I was on these mega painkillers. So that's a good one for you. Yeah. What about that for a first film? You know?
My goodness. But my goodness, you have been in loads, haven't you? You've done like, you've done lots of film work now, haven't you? And
I've done
last night I watched Angel Has Fallen, bit of, research. Great film. I mean, what's it like working with Gerard Butler? Because you had a great part, except I was a bit fed up you got killed off halfway through.
Story of my life. It was a brilliant job. It was actually, that was the opposite. It was a bigger part than I thought. You know, they're so secretive about these things. They often give you only the pages you're in. You don't get the whole script. So you don't even know what the whole story is when you're playing a slightly smaller part. But it ended up being quite good. And I was working with Jada Pinkett Smith, who was Will Smith's wife. And people had said, oh, she might have a bit of an ego. She's a big old star and a diva. She'll have an entourage. She was fantastic. I did work with Morgan Freeman for a day and Gerard Butler for a day, but I didn't get to know them very well. But Jada and I, we were sitting in a police car together and it would start to rain. And we were 2 miles from wherever the sort of caravans and things were. And they said, oh, do you want to go back? Or we're going to, as soon as it stops raining. We said, no, we'll sit here. And there was one night shoot, 2 a.m. We sat in a car together for 2 hours with a styrofoam cup of coffee each and just talked about our lives. And she was absolutely wonderful. And she kept saying, yeah, well, my husband, and I go, you mean Will Smith? Well, I said, I just say Will. Come on, I know who your husband is.
Oh gosh, my goodness. So, I mean, for someone like yourself, it must be really varied. You have had an incredibly varied career, and obviously our connection with you is obviously, I think Alexa is
Alexa Tewksbury, the wonderful woman.
Yes, she's been editing your book.
Yeah, I have a book of stories about my life coming out. Well, it's just signed with an agent, so he's got to sell it. So one day it will come out.
Yeah, no, brilliant.
But yeah, do you know what though? It's interesting. We were talking just before we started about the theatre you guys do with Unleashed. That's so brilliant. And I think you're focusing all the best bits of this thing. I think I'd do this even if it wasn't my career, because especially comedy. If ever I'm in a very rare, I've talked about how I'm out of work a lot still, but if ever I'm in the rare situation of you've got to choose between two things because they clash. If there's a comedy, 99% of the time I'll go with that, because I'm talking about my dead dad, but he ran a pub. He did all sorts of things, but he's a million miles from this business. But I remember when I was a young actor, I was on tour in a comedy, Loot by Joe Orton. And I was always a bit embarrassed about what I did for a living. I'd seen my dad hucking barrels all his life, working 365 days a year. And I thought, I know my job's hard work. It can be hard work, but it's not like what my dad does. And I used to feel embarrassed. And one night I came out after a show, he'd come to see it. And I made a glib comment about a silly job, not a real job. And now my dad was not prone to philosophical statements. He grabbed me and went, "Oi, don't let me ever hear you saying that again." I went, "What?" He said, "You just made 500 people laugh for 2 hours." And he said, "In this shit world, do you know how much that's worth? Don't let me ever hear you underestimate how important this theatre thing is." She didn't know anything about. And I've always kept that with me. And with comedy, you can hear instantly the reason that you're there. Yeah. And I've done all my share of Shakespeare and Ibsen and new plays at the Royal Court, Sturm and Drang stuff. And it's important. You make people think, and it's great. But nothing beats the immediate joy of comedy and musical for kind of knowing why we're there.
Yeah. Because you were in black comedy, weren't you? Didn't you play?
Yeah, and Real Inspector. Yeah. That's right.
Because we did that. We did it about 4 years ago. In fact, it was the very first production that Unleashed Community Drama did. We did it in the Rounds, very small. Yeah. But we did it for 4 nights. It was
Did you pair it with another play?
No, we didn't. We did it because it was the first play we'd ever done with the community drama. We basically had 2 casts, so we doubled up the casts.
Brilliant.
So that it just gave people a sense of protection. But Joseph, I'll tell you what I'd like to ask.
That was my first play in the West End.
Was it?
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah.
It's great play, fab play, really good play. But I know that it's. It sounds very glamorous, your sort of job, but I know for a fact that obviously there's, we're talking particularly this week about Mental Health Awareness Week, particularly with our guys. A lot of them struggle with it, but I think for a professional, what would you say were the stress points or the things, and how do you cope with things like A, being out of work, or B, being separated from your family, or there are lots of pressures, aren't there?
There are.
Actor. What would you say?
You've mentioned the 2 key pressures that make most people eventually knock this game on the head is when real life comes along and you have responsibilities, and there is no way you can be secure in this job unless you are in the, I want to say 0.004% of the profession who get to a comfortable level of income. Even very, I'm playing lead roles at the National Theatre, the RSC. I remember playing lead role for the Royal Shakespeare Company in the West End and having to file for bankruptcy. Because, so it's not, you earn a few £100 a week, but it's wonderful. But they are the big stresses. So you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the holy grail. And I couldn't give anyone, I teach acting a lot and actors, and there is no golden formula to life, let alone this strange profession. So I always say, if it's hurting you, get out. But if you can still exist with the hurt, keep going in our job. Yeah. Now, it's difficult when people feel that in just life, but I think it's the same thing, a bit like what I was saying to my son. It feels worse when you let the thoughts really, if I worry about next year and the fact that there probably won't be an industry for a while, then today is ruined. And right now today, I've still got 60 quid in the bank, and actually I've got some food in the fridge. Yeah. And if we just stay in today, it helps. It's not a cure, but I think that is the only way I've managed to get through it. And friends I trained with 28 years ago, they were in the business for 5 years, 10 years, then this one drops out, then that one. I never judged them. I was like, absolutely, good for you. Yeah. I get it. But I've never had another choice either. It's been manual labor or this, really. Yeah. Which is interesting. The writing has started now. I never thought I would be able to write, but I really love it. And the difference about that is, for anyone who has, people who coming to your group have a creative impulse, that is worth its weight in gold. You could dig ditches for 7 hours a day, but the joy that writing or performing gives you is yours, and no one can steal it from you. And that's riches to me. That is having riches. Yeah. So that's the kind of, it's not worrying about other people. That's the trick, which is what makes good actors, by the way. And for anyone acting in your group, if you ever get self-conscious, like, oh, what am I doing with my hand? Oh no, I said that the wrong way, blah, blah, blah. That's when it all goes wrong in life and on stage. The secret to acting and the secret to life is to concentrate on other people. So when you're feeling sad, if you can do good things for other people, the net product is 2 hours later, you feel better. Yeah. And on stage as an actor, if I start worrying about my own performance, I will be shit. But if I start trying to really affect the person I'm acting with and really think about them, everyone goes, well, you were brilliant tonight. I was concentrating on the other bugger. Yeah. So there's something in that for life and acting, I think.
Yeah, no, totally. So, we do a lot of stuff. We've done quite a bit of stuff about mindfulness and being in the moment. And weirdly, today we're talking about kindness as being one of the big parts of mental health, which is exactly what you just said. Actually, you know, sort of looking outside yourself and being kind to others, so you're not self-obsessed. That can be a really good thing as well. But
and the net result is so selfish. Like, if you can genuinely help other people, the secret is you will feel fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
And there's nothing wrong with that being your ultimate objective in it. Oh, I'm going to bloody go and do some charity work today because I know by 8 o'clock I'll feel great. Fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Joe, listen, we're going to have to wrap it up shortly, but just very shortly, what would you say was your massive highlight? I mean, I asked this to a couple of people the other day. You know, you've done so much, but what would you say is the thing that you are most proud of?
Okay, I've had the moment in my life where I've said, it doesn't get better than this. I've had it on film, I've had it in television, I've had it on radio, I've had it in theatre so many times. I'm incredibly lucky. I mean, 20 of those feelings, 20 different jobs in each medium. So I have to pick them randomly. So I'm going to randomly tell you about a radio job I did where I had to read the entirety of a poem. Now, I read it and went, oh my God. When I first read it, it's called Maud by Tennyson. And I had to read this for BBC Radio 4. It was 3 days on my own in a little sound studio. I went snowblind. It's so long. And I went, I don't understand what I'm saying really, but I'm just going with the rhythm of it. And then they recorded it, put beautiful sound on it. And when I listened to it back, when it was on the radio, it was wonderful. I'm not saying I was, but I got the poem listening to it, even though it was me reading it. Yeah. And I've listened to it again. And weirdly, I think if I was to die tomorrow and I had to leave in my will for my kids to really clock one thing I'd done, it wouldn't be Macbeth at the Globe Theatre. It wouldn't necessarily be this feature film or that. I might say, have a good old listen to Maud, which is available on all sorts of listen-y things, I think, wherever you get these things. But also there have been films that I've done that haven't necessarily been huge, but I'm so proud of them. There's a film called The Chameleon, which is only out on like Amazon Prime or something. But for once I'm starring in it. I'm in every scene and I play a serial killer. It's not a comedy, but it was a really difficult shoot. My wife was in it as well. We had a great time and I am just super proud of the end product. I just think it shouldn't have looked that good. And also there's a kids movie out now called Dragonheart Vengeance, which is for sort of 10-year-olds plus. And I play the lead sort of Captain Jack Sparrow thing in that. And for me, that'll do me. I'm like the lead in a kids adventure film. It's there. It's a Dragonheart film. I'm talking to a dragon played by Helena Bonham Carter. So that's a huge, proud thing that my grandkids can watch, you know. So I'm very lucky. Yeah.
Well, listen, Joseph, we really appreciate you coming on and, encourage us. It's so great to meet you. And we're going to probably be locked down till flipping October. So, we could probably do this again maybe in a month's time. I know.
Yeah. I'll have a big grey beard and mad hair.
Yeah.
And I think you might be talking to my wife, Sarah Jane.
Yeah. Your wife, this will be great. So we're really looking forward to that. But listen, Joseph, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And, it's lovely to meet you. And listen, I really hope that Mary Poppins comes off because I tell you,
sure it will.
We want to be there. We want to be there.
Absolutely.
Time.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
All right, my friend.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we'll keep in touch. And we really appreciate your interest in us because, we're just a little rag bag of guys down in South Devon, but
what it's all for. That's what this stuff's for. It's way more important than the big stuff, what you guys are doing.
Well, I don't know about that, but bless you. Anyway, you're very kind. Listen, take care, and we'll speak soon. Bless you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.